Welcome to Section 4, Unit 8, Gender Responsive Classroom Setup and Management. By the end of this unit, you should be able to articulate how a classroom can be made gender responsive and why it is important. Create a more learner-centered and gender-responsive classroom, even when classes are crowded or resources are limited. Support healthy gender-responsive classroom interaction. Develop students' emotional intelligence and conflict resolution skills in the classroom. How the classroom is set up or arranged can contribute positively or negatively to the learning process for girls and boys. Creating orderly and interactive learning environments considers a number of factors. For teachers, some of those considerations include mixing boys and girls at desks, setup that enhances participation of both boys and girls, arrangement of desks that encourages quiet and shy students to speak out, fixtures, posters, and visual aids on the walls that send gender responsive messages. School management must also consider what they can do to support a gender responsive classroom setup. They might consider stools in laboratories that are appropriate in size and shape, thus enabling effective participation of both girls and boys. Appropriate shelf heights in the libraries for students depending on age, height, and physical ability. Appropriate size, shape, and weight of desks and chairs to allow flexibility for movement and accessibility for all students. Fixtures, posters, and visual aids throughout the building that send gender responsive messages. Reflect on the following three questions and provide your thoughts in the space provided. How are classrooms generally arranged in your community? How might this affect how boys and girls learn? How might this reinforce or exacerbate negative gender norms? Students sit in rows, all facing the teacher. Unfortunately, this arrangement can reinforce gender norms because girls who sit at the back of the class may be less likely to participate unless the teacher makes a special effort to involve them. An option is for teachers to assign seats in a way that allows shy or quiet students to sit up front and mixes up girls and boys. These assignments can rotate throughout the year so that students meet and engage with new people. Teachers can also divide the class into small groups that sit in circles instead of rows. Where possible, students should be encouraged to mix genders at shared desks. This allows girls and boys to get to know and respect each other, collaborate, build trust, and break down barriers. Develop a flow and seating plan that encourages student interaction, community growth, ease of movement, and a variety of options for teaching and learning. Draw a flow and seating plan that is gender responsive. While creating your seating plan, please consider the questions. Where is the teacher located? Does your seating plan encourage individual work, small group work, or large group work? Are girls and boys able to equally participate? Does the flow and seating plan encourage dialogue? Are girls and boys mixed together? Is the classroom setup accessible for those with disabilities? When you have completed your drawing of a gender-responsive floor and seating plan, kindly upload it here. Additional areas for consideration when creating a gender-responsive classroom environment are wall plan, storage plan, recess, and playing outside. When reflecting on guidelines to create a wall plan, teachers should consider these questions. What is on the walls? Who designs and takes care of the wall space? Does it communicate a welcoming, joyful, warm, calm, fun, and learner-centered place? Teachers can use wall space to highlight students' creations. Analyze your room for message consistency and positivity and ensure that all messages are gender inclusive. Ask students to create posters, bulletin boards, and artwork that communicates classroom norms, conflict resolution, emotional vocabulary, and career possibilities that break down gender stereotypes. These visuals should also include positive visions for the future of our community and the respect for diversity. Teachers should take into consideration how they are using the storage space in their classroom. Consider the following questions. Are supplies and learning materials accessible to students? Are they clearly marked and organized? Establish and clearly communicate behavioral expectations, routine procedures, and an organizational system for managing learning supplies. Make learning supplies accessible and label the storage spaces clearly so that students are responsible for returning materials. Involve students whenever possible and rotate student leadership on a monthly basis to keep the space clean. Ensure that both girls and boys take turns in these leadership roles. When reflecting on guidelines to create a gender-responsive playtime for students, teachers can consider the following questions. Do all students have a chance to play? Who monitors students' behavior and interactions when they are at recess or playing outside? Play is critical for children. It encourages physical well-being, imagination, and teamwork. However, without setting norms for outdoor play and monitoring students to ensure inclusive play, it can result in some students dominating the space or specific students being left out or bullied. Norms for playing outside should be established. This can be done using the Creating Group Norms activity shared later in this unit. A few suggestions include rotating the main play area between boys and girls and organizing games that include both genders. Teachers or staff can take turns monitoring students' behavior to ensure that recess is a positive experience for all. Overcrowded classrooms are a reality in many schools, but there are still many strategies for creating a positive gender-responsive learning experience. For example, use space outside of the classroom. Students can utilize outdoor space to work in small groups. Display students' work creatively. One method could be hanging students' work from strings across the ceiling. Involve students in managing the space. Students can help by putting materials away as a rotating job. Ensure girls and boys have regular opportunities to work together. This could be done in pair work or small groups. Create norms and guidance for small group work to support the inclusion and collaboration of all. For example, make sure that participation from all students is expected and specific roles within the small groups change so that the note taker and person reporting back to the group are not always the same. Check for understanding in fun ways. You can ask students to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to let you know if they understand a concept. Create opportunities for volunteers, classroom aides, student mentors, or teaching assistants to provide additional support. Find new and interesting ways to get to know your students. For example, invent a roll call song. Review pages 71 to 72 of the toolkit for more ideas. Many dynamics in classroom interactions have an impact on teaching and learning processes. They include teacher presentation. For example, is the teacher unkempt or uninterested, or is the teacher dressed professionally, engaged, and approachable? Student presentation refers to how the student comports him or herself. Teacher-student interaction refers to how teachers recognize and support students' individuality, strengths, and challenges. Teacher-parent interaction includes any interaction parents have with teachers, whether it is one-on-one or in school meetings. Parents and teachers have a shared responsibility for supporting students as learners. Teacher-teacher interaction refers to how teachers engage with each other. Teachers should strive to ensure inclusion, equality, gender sensitivity, and mutual respect. Student-student interaction includes how students communicate with each other in class. In a gender-responsive classroom, student communication is respectful of diversity and inclusive. Review pages 74 of the toolkit for more details on classroom interactions. Take 10 minutes to look at the images of classroom setups and teacher-students interactions. As you're reviewing the images, consider the following questions. What do you see that you relate to? What do you see that supports gender-responsive classrooms and interactions? Would this be replicatable in your classroom? What do you see that does not support gender-responsive classrooms and interactions? How might you change it so it is gender-responsive? Despite crowded classrooms and limited resources, there is a lot that can be done to create a positive, gender-responsive learning environment. This will foster inclusive classroom interactions amongst all students. Emotional intelligence is our ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions, as well as our ability to recognize, understand, and influence emotions of other people. Why might this matter in the classroom? Emotional intelligence is critical to student success, both inside the classroom and beyond. Teachers play a big role in modeling emotional intelligence. A teacher's ability to show how to identify and handle difficult feelings will support students in building their own emotional intelligence. For students, there is a strong correlation between students' emotional intelligence, their classroom behavior, their academic achievement, and their success in the workforce. Daniel Goleman is a psychologist and author who literally wrote the book on emotional intelligence. According to Goleman, there are four pillars of emotional intelligence. First, self awareness, the ability to perceive and identify our feelings. Self regulation, the ability to regulate and respond appropriately. Social awareness or empathy, the ability to see things from another person's perspective and to take into their individual thoughts and feelings about an experience. Relationship management or social skills, the ability to build healthy relationships by turning to other people's emotions and noticing how they respond to your behaviors and actions. Look at these two photographs and take 5 minutes to write down your answers to the following questions for both these images. How are the people in the image feeling? What are they thinking? When was the last time you felt the same way as the people in the image? By taking time to consider what the students were feeling in these images, considering what they were thinking, and relating it to your own experiences, you exercised your own emotional intelligence. This is an activity you can do in the classroom to build students' emotional intelligence. There are many other activities to support emotional intelligence in pages 78 to 81. Conflict management and resolution is a critical life skill. Conflict resolution protocols are helpful in schools and classrooms and can be practiced before a conflict arises so students know what to do when conflict arises. Here is the conflict resolution protocol. Calming down, walking away, count to 10, explanation of the upset, discussion and resolution. Some kind of acknowledgement, a handshake or verbal acknowledgement. An effective tool in the conflict resolution process is an I statement. It is called an I statement because it focuses on the feelings and experiences of the speaker rather than focusing on what the listener's intentions and thoughts are projected to be. An I statement looks like this. When you, I feel, because. So, what I would like is, for example, when you interrupt me, I feel upset because I want to share what I'm thinking. So, what I would like is to be able to speak without being interrupted. Remember that the emphasis has to be the person giving the I statement, not the listener. For example, the I statement would be less effective if it is said, when you interrupt me, I feel upset because you never let me share what I'm thinking. So, what I would like is for you to stop interrupting me. Create three I statements using these examples of problematic students' behaviors that might occur at school. Feel free to use your imagination and come up with another problematic scenario on your own. Fill in your I statements in the corresponding area. Additional resources.
Up next,
Unit 9, Sexual and Reproductive Health for Gender Responsive Schools.